Thank you. Um, did any of you try anything? Did you try going live?
I plan, yeah, do the live on the Regions page, pre-recorded content. I did a mission video and I scheduled it to air. So it did work. So,
Yeah, I saw that actually. And then you mentioned something also about watching a movie. I'm assuming that was you. It may not have even been you. It may have been somebody else who was admin on the page. Great. Anybody else take a dive? Even on your personal page, like it didn't have to be on the ministry's page, because you're just going to try it out. But even on your own personal page, anybody try to do a live video?
I did a live video with
We did
Patrice
live on
at the Mardi Gras parade.
Okay, great. Hey, it's live.
Yeah, it was live. Lots of people saw it.
Regina, what about you? It sounded like you were chiming in.
yeah, we did live for Sunday, but we have been doing live, Facebook Live. But I tried doing I tried to do live or do Zoom on my phone for Ash Wednesday because I forgot my computer. And so that's a whole nother thing when you don't bring all the devices you need to. And I was like, I can't see. What is wrong? And Megan's like, flip the camera around. I was like, that would make a difference. I just didn't like stand.
Oh, but you got it though, right?
We got it, but we ended up not needing it. The people who usually join us for Zoom were not able to join. So
Oh, okay. But all of these, even moments like that where something doesn't work, it's just like a lesson for the next time. Because I'm going to show you all a video that I did for you, and I because there were some things that I couldn't show you because I couldn't show you my screen and my Zoom screen. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do this video for them so that they're not trying to write down all these little steps. So I did the video, get to the end, and you always, if you can't, you always test it and watch it after you've done it before you share it proudly. So I'm looking at the video and it's just me. Like it didn't record any of the screen. I was like, oh, that's so ineffective. Let me do this again. So I'll show that to you in a few minutes, which I hope will alleviate some of the mystery around connecting Zoom to Facebook and to YouTube, as well as StreamYard. I actually go through all three. Anybody else have any tales of their experiences trying out going live? No? Okay, brave souls. Next week, you're going to tell all of us how great it was or how terrible it was. Because either way, if it ends up being fantastic and you get more and more comfortable doing it, then when it's the time that it has to be done and done well, which is, doing services, it won't, some of the anxiety would be gone because you would have gotten familiar with it. You worked out some of the kinks. And then, sometimes there's a kink still there and you just keep going. If you find out that the sound isn't working, try to figure out why the sound isn't working and give it another shot. I would encourage you to not go, oh man, this didn't work, so I'm not going to try it again. Okay. So if there are no questions before I start this video, then I'm going to start the video. Does anybody have any questions? Let's see if there are any hands raised. Nope. Okay. So I'm going to start the video. If you cannot hear the video, if you cannot see the video, I think it may take over my screen. So like type it in the chat and then I will try again because tech doesn't always work the way you want it to. but we keep trying. So this is me today. See how I'm wearing the same clothes?
I can't hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe I need to take these out. Make it come through my speakers.
Did you click share sound? When you shared your screen, you have to check share sound.
I did not do that. So let's see. Oh, there it is, right there at the bottom. Thank you. Just give me 1 second. It's actually making me. Okay, so I make this recording so that you would see how you can actually connect Zoom to Facebook or YouTube. So if you're having a meeting or you're planning on doing an event, you need to show your PowerPoint presentation, you would just press live on Facebook. And Zoom would then open your browser. And this option would come up. So you see that it says, live stream Zoom meeting to Facebook Live. Here, where you can change the title. That is the title of how the video is going to show up on Facebook. You could enter a description. And here, you can choose whether or not you want to share to a page or to a group. I'm going to share to a page. So when I actually share to a page, the next option changes to all the pages that I'm an admin on. So I can either scroll through that list or I can type it in. And this one. And when I'm ready, I will just click go live. I'm waiting. Doesn't take very long. And then it loads. So what you will notice is there is a small lag on Facebook. So it's a few seconds behind Zoom, but it's showing up perfectly. If I wanted to share this out so that others can see it, I would just click the share button. It's the same functions that I would get on any video posted in Facebook. If I want to comment, I could do so from clicking here. And the comment will be coming from my personal page. Or I could just, do any of the reactions that are available. So essentially, you see that everything is working fine. You know that it's live because you see the little live button up here. It's just that simple. Next, I want to show you, well, actually, in order for it to actually end, like you could close the browser, but closing the browser does not actually end the live stream. In order for the live stream to end, you actually have to go back to Zoom and click on the little menu options at the bottom and choose stop live stream. Now it has ended. So your next option is you say, well, we don't have a large audience on Facebook. I really want to stream to YouTube. You come back down to more and then choose live on YouTube. And again, Zoom is trying to connect. You choose the account that is associated with the YouTube channel. So I chose Chandra McCarty. There are several other channels that I actually have associated with that email account. If you're wondering why is it going to my Google, that is because Google is owned by the same company that owns YouTube, which is Alphabet. So we're going to choose where we're going to stream. We're going to stream to Chandra McCarty. because for me, that's where I do most of my live streaming. So all of the parameters that are required to be able to live stream to YouTube, I've already met them on that channel. And similar to the Facebook page, I can change the title. It's defaulting to my title on Zoom. When I actually started this meeting, that is the name of the meeting. So I can change that. Then I can choose whether or not I want it to be public, meaning that everybody from my subscribers to people who just logged in will be able to see it. If I want it to be unlisted, then it will be available, but people will only be able to see it if I actually send them the link, and then private will be just for me. So I'm going to hit unlisted because this is just a test. Then I'm going to press go live. Takes a few seconds for Zoom to actually connect with YouTube. A few more seconds. And then we show up. So you see there's one person watching, that one person is me. And to the left-hand side, I'm sorry, to the right-hand side, you can see where you can actually comment within your own chat box. And we see the Zoom stream on the page. If I wanted to, I would turn on the sound. I'm not going to do that at the moment because the video is picking up the sound that I'm saying, and I don't want the echo. So it's just that simple. That's another option. And again, the same scenario. Closing out the browser window does not stop the stream. In order to stop the stream, you would have to go back to Zoom and choose to turn the live stream off. And we just look at Zoom. When we're going live, it has a live, red live at the top left corner. That is gone. We come back to the more options. We have the option to go live on Facebook, Workplace by Facebook, and live on YouTube. If we were currently streaming, those options would not be available. But let's say you decide that you want to do a live stream, but you don't want to live stream to one platform. You don't want it to be to either or between Facebook and YouTube coming from Zoom. You want to be able to touch multiple Facebook pages. There is another option. And one of the options that I use for doing work like that is StreamYard. So StreamYard is a web-based streaming software, and you can actually come directly into StreamYard, if you want to connect to the destinations, and your destinations are the social media platforms, you just go down to this little menu, add a destination. You can pick from any of these options and go through the login process. All of my destinations are already here. So I will just go back to my broadcast and create a broadcast. And I have a choice. A new broadcast means that it hasn't been made before. It's going to most likely be live unless I choose the record option. Or if I have a video that I've already recorded, I can actually upload it to StreamYard and then either go live immediately with that particular piece of video, or tell the platform, I want you to go live at a particular time, because it does give you the option to schedule. I'm going to choose new broadcast. You see all of the destinations that I have associated with my StreamYard account. I'm just going to pick this one and name it test and test. Here is the scheduling option. If I click it, I could put up an image that will put up a post on my Facebook page or on my YouTube channel, and it would have that image and say, hey, at this time, whatever time that I choose, whatever day that I choose, the video is actually going to be live. And then I would simply choose create broadcast. Well, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to uncheck that box. And now it's simply this, the title, the description, and create broadcast. When I'm ready, I'll click it. Okay, so there I am. I'm right there in the little box. There's my name, and there's this green bar that's going up and down labeled mic. My mic is picking up my voice, which you want to be happening if you're speaking and nothing is showing, like you're muted. and nothing is actually happening, that bar isn't moving, that means that the people who are watching your live stream can't hear anything. So make sure that that is actually unchecked and they can hear you. If you want to change your name, how it shows up on the bottom, you can do so right here, display name. If you want to stop the camera on you, just turn that off. You see, even though I'm talking, the little avatar, the rings are moving, it's because my mic is still on. So when you're ready, enter the studio, but nothing's happening yet. That black box means that the stream is empty. So I will actually have to add myself to the stream to appear on the screen. And there are different formats that I can use. If I had another person on here with me, then we could be side by side. As you can see, the next option has a little gray below and above. If I use a graphic that has something above and below or have my logo on there, then that imagery will show up as an overlay on top of the video. And those are actually in the brand option. I can change the color of that background. I can change how that little name bubble shows up. I could turn it off altogether. I could add my logo, it shows up at the top right. And as I shared before, I could also have an overlay. And you can have different overlays that actually match these different configurations that are available at the bottom just below the main stream screen. Now let's say I'm doing this and I want to show a video. I can also upload videos and play them on the platform. And sometimes you may decide you want to go live, but you saw those few seconds that it takes between clicking the live and it actually going live. And then sometimes it takes people a few minutes to even know that you're doing a live stream. Well, if you're worried about whether or not having that live stream on and there's nothing happening or starting immediately and people missing the beginning of your content, you can actually play this countdown. And that gives you 30 seconds for the live stream to take before you actually show up on the screen. As I said, if you had another video, you could certainly add a video clip. It will open up the computer browser and give you the option to actually find that particular video and upload it. So you can play it right in the platform as opposed to trying to find it or playing it through YouTube. And the next option is a background. If I had a green screen, I could choose a different background. I can throw some audio in there if I want some music in the background. And this gives me an opportunity to just play it. I'm not live yet. So I can just play it and see if I like what I'm hearing. If I don't like it, I don't have to play it. Another great feature of this is because you can live stream to so many platforms that have the chat capability, instead of you going to YouTube and checking for comments and then going to Facebook and then checking LinkedIn, you can actually click here if you're streaming to all of those destinations. And when people are commenting, it all comes into one spot. So you can reply from within one platform as opposed to trying to track down where people are communicating or missing out on something that somebody is saying because you don't have one spot that is capturing all of that information. And when you are ready, you just click the go live button. It'll ask you for confirmation. Say yes. Takes a few seconds and boom, we are live. You're live here and you're live here. You have a countdown so you know how long you've been on. And you also have this little view right here, which lets you know how many eyeballs are actually watching that stream. Now, if you have additional people that you want to invite, you just click the invite button and you could copy this link and send it to them. And that will allow them to join within the stream with you. And to get them to show up on the screen, they would just have to hit add stream, just as I did at the very beginning, and then they can show up next to you. And you can add up to 10 people on StreamYard. So this is another way of engaging with more people, adding a level of interactivity. And it's an alternative to broadcasting to just one channel. So if you find that you need more than what is capable with Zoom, where you're just going from one spot to the other, this is an alternative for you. And if you are ready to end the stream, you click in broadcast. If you as an individual were leaving, but the stream was going to continue, then you would just click leave studio. And it would ask you if you want to leave the studio. You would just hit leave and it would close it out. I'm going to end the broadcast altogether. All right. All right. That's riveting. I'm just kidding. Any questions about that? I will share that video just so you have it to refer to if you need to, because I know there are a lot of steps in there. It's particularly in jumping across the different platforms. So it could be a lot to remember, try to jot down. And if you are a visual learner like me, videos typically help. Yes, ma'am, Pat, you're like me. I thought about, last week and I was doing it on the fly. You weren't here, but I was just going along and showing it. And I was like, man, it's just a lot of steps. And I do it all the time. And I feel like it's a lot of steps. So I figured I'd do something that I could pass on. So you pause along the way and, follow along the steps so that you can, to increase the level of success, because you will actually have a resource to utilize to help in the process.
Okay, I did have a couple of specific questions, and one of them is probably stupid, but you start this on Zoom, right? If you're going to go from Zoom to Facebook, you start it on Zoom, so you have to set up an account on Zoom.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That second thing that I showed, StreamYard, does not require Zoom at all. But so that was an option outside of using Zoom, the one where you could stream to multiple platforms.
Okay.
That wasn't connected to Zoom at all.
Okay.
So you end up seeing me going back and forth with Zoom because I had my Zoom up to in the recording. But if you say, a lot of people are using Zoom for church. If you want to use like PowerPoints or share your screen that way, it is easier if you're using Zoom. And you can do just the direct, but you do need to, if you want to stream from Zoom to Facebook, you do need to have Zoom. If you want to if you want to stream directly from Facebook or to Facebook, you can just do a Facebook Live within Facebook. There are some limited capabilities in it. If you're trying to present, like later, I'm going to show my PowerPoint slide. I tried to share my screen in Facebook's new interface because they added some capability. I think part of it may have been to try to keep up with what was happening in Zoom. And so it had an option for me to share my screen, but it wouldn't work properly. And I didn't want to take the chance of it not working properly when I was presenting. So I just cut out doing that altogether. Now, if I'm just speaking and I'm not trying to pull in another visual source, then just Facebook Live will be fine. So if you're doing your streaming for your congregation and you don't intend to let people see like the words to the songs or the points from the sermon, I wouldn't encourage you to do it that way. Honestly, I would say, use Zoom so that you would have that extra element, the extra visual piece, as you would if you were sitting in the congregation. Like if you wanted to have on the screen the verses from the sermon, the verses from scripture or the main points from the actual sermon, or if you were doing a Bible study, if you put up like, hey, here's the question for the day, or this is what we're praying for. Like there are other ways that you could utilize Zoom that aren't as easily available visually with just doing a Facebook stream. But the Zoom is probably a little less complicated than just trying to figure out a live stream on the desktop version of Facebook and this little portal that it has. It can be a little more complicated. The layout's a little tougher. Any questions at this point? No?
Yes. Hi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I wasn't here last week, and I was wondering if you have the last week's video posted anywhere?
So Tanika has that video.
I will send it out tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to end up touching something else after our 8:30 break. For those who weren't here at, well, I said 8:30, at 8 o'clock, I give us a 10-minute break for people to go beat up their machines and then come back feeling revitalized. So what I plan on talking about after 8 o'clock is email marketing and why that's relevant for congregations. So I'm saying that so that if we have video questions that you would ask me now, so that you won't feel offended when I integrate this other piece of tech in our tech tools seminar and go, wait a minute, I wanted to know more about that thing. So is there anything I need to say about that thing? And these will make sense when I start talking about it. Is there anything you want to ask me? Yes, Regina.
Are you going to touch on the whole copyright issue? We've just been kind of like pretending that it doesn't matter that we're singing these songs on
Thank
Facebook
you so much for
Live.
bringing that back up. And let me draw some links for you.
I know the Disciples Tech Core had put out like a pamphlet, and I just Xeroxed it at the board meeting, was like, here you guys, we got to do something.
So let me ask you this. When you are singing the songs, are they included? Are they included in your live stream?
They are. They're included in the live stream. We start the live stream like maybe 5 minutes before church actually starts. So, sometimes you get whomever talking in the background because, our microphone's set up and whatnot. But then, yes, we live stream the whole thing. And I know we talked about last week, we talked about the whole privacy issue with prayer concerns and whatnot. So,
Yes.
Nobody in our giant congregation of 10 has had issues, but that is something I want to bring up to the board when we have our next board meeting, is like, hey, this is something I didn't even think about. Maybe people don't want to know that so-and-so needs prayers, for
Yes.
whatever.
So, okay, there are some licensing organizations for worship music. And if you are singing out of a hymnal, you should be pretty safe if you already have a licensing agreement. I will send you the companies. One of them, hold on, I'll send them right now. If you are singing contemporary worship music, you are going to run into some issues if you do not actually have permission, because you have permission to sing them within the congregation, but when you start streaming them, you are basically sharing somebody else's copyrighted content. And if you are even bolder and are just like playing the music, they will, like, the platforms will shut off your sound. So if you have, the pastor get up, they do a sermon, and then the praise team gets up and they're like singing along with, even if it's an instrumental, if they're singing along with somebody else's copyrighted song, Facebook and YouTube for sure pick up that song and they will silence your entire video. So it won't just be you have the sermon and then there's silence when the song comes. The whole video will have no sound because that is copyrighted material. Now, you won't qualify for this, but like I know that there's a DJ who also has like an online, he streams, Facebook streams online all the time. And so what he has is all music, all rights reserved. This is a radio station. I have licensing to play. Now, whether or not they actually look at that, I don't know, but they never silence him. So there's been some communication probably beforehand where he said, this is who I am. I have the rights to play this. So they do check that stuff. Now they may silence you initially, but if you have license to do it, put that comment, but you actually have to have paid for the license to do it. Like don't say it and you really haven't paid for the license. But
We got nothing.
we,
We have our hymnals. We got a very talented pianist, and we sing as well as we can. And God bless them. Megan and I are right there in front of the microphone, so you just hearing us, and it's a hot mess. If anybody wants to watch our Facebook Live.
Is that why folk write on there, I don't own the rights to this
Yes.
music?
Yes.
I hear them say it, I don't own the rights to this music. Mhm.
yes, that's exactly why. And even like the little short videos, like the little 15-second videos, they're called reels. And Instagram, which also Meta is, Facebook's new name. Meta owns Instagram and Facebook. And if you have a little clip, just 15 seconds of another artist's video, and you try to download that video, Instagram will strip all the sound out. Or Facebook will strip all the sound out. Wherever you're making that video, when you try to download it, because they have a license for it to be played on that platform, not necessarily a license for you to take it everywhere else. So even they're trying to respect their licensure. So if you're not paying for a license, then legally, no, you cannot be broadcasting other people's artwork without them getting any type of recognition or compensation. I know that churches have broken this all, my whole childhood. I know some of those songs, they probably didn't go and contact those artists or didn't go through the steps of actually getting permission. They were just going for it, and nobody really said anything because people weren't coming into the congregations and saying, that's my song. But when you share it in more public space, you have to pay for those licenses. What I've noticed, even with like TD Jakes will stream, and I know that he probably has paid for these licenses, but his praise team will sing, and this is popular worship music. But when he actually does the final video of that worship service, it's just his sermon. So he's not putting out, he's not putting out the songs at all.
Okay, so I know you can edit, like on your iPhone, you can edit when you make a video. So when on Facebook, could you edit a live to where, okay, I'm going to stream the entire service, but when it goes to post, I'm only going to post the sermon?
Yeah, you can. So what you would do when you get to the end, it'll ask you whether or not you want to save it. I don't know if you ever noticed that. You can actually download the video at that moment. You can choose whether or not you want to allow it to actually post to the page. You can choose not to, but just make sure you get that video. So download the video, and it should be small enough for you to do these quick edits on your iPhone. Play around with it. But if you stream from your iPhone, right, when you're in service. So when you get to the end and it asks you whether or not you want to keep it, save the video, make a quick edit on the front and end, most likely, the song parts, and then whatever's happening at the end, because you're probably singing Agnus Dei at the end, and cut those pieces out, and then upload the video and say, this is Sunday worship service. You can include the scripture reading, in that particular post. And so that would be a way that you could do it. You just have to hope they don't cut your sound like while you're streaming. But I would encourage you to really look into the licensing. You don't want to lose. You definitely don't want to find out afterward that you don't have sound. Like you can't go back and get that sermon again unless somebody else is recording it as well as it being recorded live.
Right. No, what that's the whole reason why I'm here is we want to upgrade, we want to not be using my phone and my laptop, and have a better microphone system, because right now, if the laptop's sitting in front of me and the microphone's attached to the laptop, then yeah, you hear myself and Megan singing all kinds of loud, and the preacher, she's over there, so you don't hear the sermon as well, but you still hear it, so it's just something that we've been trying to get it's like we got the money, we need to decide what to buy.
And you guys could you could do the setup even with an external mic with a computer. And I'm not saying yours. You could get, a separate laptop, which would be used solely for that purpose. and actually have the mic. You saw the mic that I had last week. Well, I can connect that to my computer. You can also get a switcher. I don't think you would need to do that though. And I don't want to make it more complicated than it has to be, but you can connect an external mic to your computer. I am a Mac user. If you are not a Mac user, if you're not a Mac user and you don't like tech, it may be a hard transition. I prefer Macs because they are built to do these types of things really easily, and by default they have the capabilities. Some PCs, because there's such a range of PCs, sometimes they don't have the hardware capabilities to handle some of these things very well. But with that said, you can actually connect an external mic. Do I have mine? So everybody has a mic in their, not assume. Do all of you have mics in your church? The microphones? Okay, so on the back, this is a microphone box, okay? It's a receiver for the mic. So on the back, you have this. This is, hold up. It's so hard to do this backwards. This is an XLR. And it's a sound cable for professional mics. Well, they have XLRs. There's an XLR, a female XLR on one end. This is a male, attach a female. And on the other end, there's an adapter that's appropriate for a headphone jack. So that's an option for how you connect. Another thing that you can do, depending on your device, is this other little spot, that little hole right there. That's an audio out. So it's a little bigger than a headphone jack, but I can connect that little thing to an end that would have that piece and a headphone jack and connect it to my computer, and then just turn my mic on, and I'm bringing in a lot cleaner sound to my computer. And these cables, now this mic, I think I paid $150 for it. It's a lavalier. So it's that little mic that you attach to your lapel. So I can have this set up and connected to my computer wherever, across the room, by the power surge, it doesn't even matter. And I be somewhere else because it's transmitting that signal. So it won't matter if you and Megan are sitting right next to it, the box or the computer singing, because the sound is going in here on that person. Okay, so that's a way that you could actually do it. I think I paid less than $200 for this. Then you would have to get the cables, and the adapter cables is a range of about 10 to 20 to be able to make the necessary adjustments to bring the sound into the computer. And you can always test it, because once you take over that headphone jack, you can actually select whether or not it can hear the sound. And, you know, similar to what I was doing in StreamYard, just talking, you could see it. Even within the settings with the Mac, if you're looking at your sound settings, same on a PC, if you're looking at your sound settings, if you're talking and nothing's moving, it's not hearing it. So you can do all of that testing in advance. Oh, you sent me something. Let's see what you got. Okay. So this looks like it's omnidirectional. Let me actually scroll down and read the specs on it. An omnidirectional mic means that it picks up in the front and on the sides equally. And oh, it's a cardioid. Okay, that's good. Do not use an Omni, because if you have an omnidirectional mic and there's a person behind you or right on the back end of that mic, the microphone is going to pick that person's voice up just as well as it would pick yours up, just as well as it will people on the side. Omni, all direction. Okay. A cardioid mic, which is what Regina just sent me the link for. I have a clean sheet of paper and draw what this looks like for you. So it looks like that. That's how the sound flows. Cardioid, kind of like heart, because it kind of looks like a heart. So this would be the mic part down here. And that's like the top of the mic is right up in here. So it'll pick up more at the very top than it will on either of the sides. So that's actually a good thing, but it will pick up sound on the sides, just not as well. I hope I haven't gotten too technical. Some of the looks I'm seeing is like, yeah, there's a lot going on in the inside of mics that a lot of people aren't aware of. So it does matter, you know, the type of mic that you get does matter. A very popular mic, if you have, if you're sitting at a desk, is the Blue Yeti. Are any of you familiar with the Blue Yeti? No. Okay. Never mind. Well, I'll tell you why you mentioned it. The Blue Yeti has, if you can change it to be different types of mics. So it can be directional. It's right here. It's only going to pick up what's directly in front of it. It can be a cardioid. It can be an Omni. It shifts based upon the needs of the user. But that mic isn't bad, but it's sitting by you, right? So the range of that mic is the problem. Either that, or you need to get a much longer cord so that it could be up there by her and not by you guys, which there are some extension cables out there. I don't know how much length you need, but I will say this, the more cables you add, the more possible sound degradation you could have. So if you can get like a really long one, you probably won't find it in like Best Buy. This is an Amazon thing, or a BH Video, like an actual supplier, where you can actually get longer cables and have it as far as you need it to be. If you opt to do that, tape that cable down so that you don't have a tripping hazard.
Right. I think I think what we want to do is go with like what you have as far as a microphone that you can wear on your lapel, and then even maybe having one up at the lectern for whoever's doing the children's sermon.
Okay.
Because and we've got like one step to go up to get up there, and so some of our older members have issues getting up the step if they're gonna and if they're gonna do the children's sermon, they'll just stay on the regular platform to do the children's sermon. But right now, with where the microphone is, that's fine. And I would think that even if that was going to be a thing, that if we had the mics just clipped to us, then that would solve the issue, and then there wouldn't be a tripping hazard.
Yeah,
And yeah,
that's
you wouldn't
true.
have to hear us singing really loud.
That's true. That definitely would solve that issue. What you brought up for me though is you might end up needing a switcher.
Right. I mean, I've done
Oh.
a ton of research online, and it's so overwhelming. And that's why I was like, maybe there's somebody in town that can help us out, help a sister out.
Yeah, I think you're going to need a switcher. That can also be connected to a computer. A switcher is a device that will allow you to bring up different pieces of audio, but it also lets you bring sound up and down on microphones. So since Regina is talking about having multiple mics in the space, if you have a hot mic, meaning that the mic is on and people can hear it, like, so if you have a hot mic on the side while the pastor is talking, you'll be picking up sounds from both. So if you have a switcher, you can turn off the sound to that mic that doesn't need to be live. Does that make sense? I think I want to show you a picture of what I'm talking about. For those who are like me, who are like, what is she saying right now? Oh, that one's fancy. Let me look at an old school switcher. So this particular switcher that I'm about to show you, I have not used, and it is only $45. I would not recommend it because it is $45. Actually, I'm not looking at one. I don't like that one. I don't want to show you something and you go, oh, I'm going to go out and buy that. And then you don't forget that I said that that's probably a really poor quality switcher, because $45 from Walmart is not, it's probably not going to be that good. Share my screen. Okay, so this is an example of a switcher. So all the different inputs are programmed into these buttons. And these little things right here are called faders. And you can push them up and down, and pushing them up and down adjust the volume. So if you have more than one microphone that is active, and you don't want to rely on somebody turning their mic off, because sometimes people forget to turn their mics off, then you can actually lower the sound on that channel which will lower this volume on their microphone. But some of you may not even need that setup. But from hearing what Regina is saying, it will probably be best for them if they're going to use a lavalier. Now, their other option, of course, would be to use a handheld mic that would be on a stand and then, share the mic. So that person who's doing the children's moment would just take the handheld down, sit down with the kids, and then give that mic back to the pastor to continue on with the service. That is an option. And handheld mics work very similar to lavalier mics. It's handheld, so there's that long one that you hold in your hand. But as far as being able to transmit the signal, it's the same. It's attached to a receiver. You don't have to have a cord. You can have a cordless handheld, which I would actually recommend if you intend to move it around so that you're not dealing with the cable. Any questions? Gina, you have the best smile. Gina's like, yeah, microphones. I told you when I started this that, that this could go two ways, that it could be an intellectual pursuit or that you actually have some nuggets and you are set up by the end. My goal is that at the end of this, your time with me, you are set up. Not that you have a bunch of notes, but that you're actually set up. And so that kind of requires some of the grittiness that may feel, hopefully it doesn't feel overwhelming, but it is a different industry. And I realize that there are a lot of tools out there and it can be confusing. So I'm hoping that I don't lose you, but I know some of you already have mics. Like I know Reverend Parker's church has microphones, was in there. No, that Regina's had. I've only been in two, so I know that there are microphones in two of these places. So you may be able to use what you already have. It's just a matter of connecting it to the computer that will allow you to transmit that signal. And there's also the option of not doing that. If your sound is carrying well enough through the computer system, you may not have to have a separate mic going directly in. But again, you have to be aware of any of the ambient sound. If you're in the sanctuary alone, it's probably not going to be necessary. You're going to have the computer a little bit closer to you. Still preach with the mic on, even if there's no congregation, because sometimes we think that we're louder than we are. And that microphone will help your voice to carry. So your setups may be a little bit different. So feel free to ask any questions that you have. Gina, do you have any questions? I'm only asking because you're unmuted.
Oh yeah. Well, we have mics and we have a sound guy who was our custodian who turned our videographer with COVID. But I'm still trying to learn. I feel like there needs to be more than one person that knows what's going on, right?
I totally agree with that.
So, we pre-record. No, I'm sorry, we don't pre-record. We record live and then he edits and then we put it out later. So we don't do live streaming or anything.
Okay.
So I'm, kind of curious about doing that. Maybe not even for worship, but for other things, But my question, about the switcher,
Mhm.
How is that different from like just a regular board or whatever, like where you would operate a soundboard, I guess?
It's not. Well, let me take that back. A switcher will allow visuals, and an audio board is just audio. So that's the only difference. Let's say you had a setup where you had multiple cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had, a camera that was of the congregation or a camera that was of the entire from the table, the lectern, showing the choir stand, and then you had a shot that was just of the pastor,
Yeah.
or you had a shot that was just of the lectern. Like, you would need to have some way to go from camera to camera,
Right.
and you would use a switcher to do that.
So that's it. Really more required for that live action part of it, like because we have two cameras and he just edits it in his magic room, and does all that.
Mhm.
But anyway,
But yeah, that's one way it would. He could have those same shots and grab them live if he wanted to.
that,
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just said that's in the future.
But to your question, you were saying, you thinking about live for other things. You can do, well, I don't know if you would stream these, but you can do Bible studies. You can do a lot of things. You could do just church meetings and stream them. If you have a private group, like if it's something that you don't want out publicly, you could have a private group, even a private group on Facebook, and say, this is just going to be these people who are allowed in. We're going to have our meeting this way. You'll probably end up catching people who couldn't normally come. Some people, can't come to evening meetings. Some people would have to drag kids in with them, or have work, or, or snowed in and they can't get out, but they can look at it and still participate if it's offered in a way like live streaming, where they don't necessarily have to be physically present. So there are a lot of ways that our communication could be expanded by leveraging the technology, and it doesn't just have to be on Sundays. Think about some people who would, like to volunteer, but they can't because they're homebound, or even in the context of COVID, if there's something that is happening, even a volunteer opportunity, and people can't participate because they're quarantined. So then, well, if I can't come out and be there in person, then I can't participate at all if there's no other way. And kind of hearing how an event was, or getting pictures, isn't necessarily the same. So yeah, your Bible studies, if you have any women's groups or women's meetings or men's groups, men's meetings, I mean, they could all have a visual, an online component, even if it's, we're all sitting here together and, that chair right there has the computer in it, and people get to participate who might not normally be able to come. Even those who may be living abroad or stationed abroad would be able to participate in a more meaningful way.
That's how we've been doing our Wednesday night studies. And now we've got, somebody who can't drive at night that can participate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious how you work the sound for that, because we've had several hybrid meetings, I guess you call it, using Zoom. But it always seems like, the sound is not great. If most people are in person and you have one person at home, they can't always hear all the action,
And that becomes a you have to be cognizant of them.
Yeah.
They can't just be there. You have to think of how do you make this space better for them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having a meeting, are you in a meeting where there's a microphone, and then as people are talking, you pass the mic so that it's a little bit louder, so the sound's amplified? If one person is leading, being conscious to have that device that has the person who's on Zoom near the speaker.
Yeah.
When the person who's on the Zoom is speaking, turning the computer up so that the other people can hear it. So you just have to just do some pre-planning of how to incorporate that person, or be cognizant of those people who are participating via Zoom.
Yeah.
How you doing, Ms. Ruby?
good. I'm just sitting here and listen. All I can do is get on the Zoom. I know how to get on the Zoom. I know how to do that. But I'll just listen to all the things that you saying. But I don't know if I ever learn all that because I ain't that good on the computer. So I'm still listening. I'm still gonna listen and to just see what's happened.
Well, I'm glad that you're hanging on in there. Ms. Ruby, there's some people who right now can't even get on Zoom. I wouldn't even see their face. So
Yes, but I can get on Zoom. That's because me and my husband had been on all this summer, and I learned to get him on there, and then as my grandbaby there would help me, and then so I had some neighbors help me to get on. But I'm still tacking it on there. But I can get on Zoom though.
well, hey.
That's about as far as I can go.
Well, right now, Zoom is everything.
Yes.
So does anybody have, I'm sorry, go ahead. Were you want to say something, Miss Ruby?
Oh no, that was it.
Does anybody have any questions before our 10-minute break? No. Okay, I want to see all these faces come back.
We coming back. I know, cause see, I know Ann, Sister Ann, that's my friend. She on there. Hey Ann, I don't know if she got on there or not, but she on there. I saw her page a while ago.
Hey, Ruby.
So,
I see
Yeah.
hey girl,
I see you, Ruby.
I see you, Ann.
I'm gonna try to come back.
Okay.
You come back. I know where you live. I just pop up and say, you got off early.
And is Mary Fluke on? Is Mary Fluke
Yes,
on?
ma'am. She's on.
Okay, see, that's my friend too. So she's go. Me and her go to the same church. So the rest of them I don't know, but I'm learning them. But them on the two that I know real good. And Tamika, I know her because I with her all the time. I'll call up and ask such and such and this and such. She helped me a lot too.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Yeah, her and Krista. When I call her and say, "Oh, there go Miss Howard," she said, "Yes, I want something." Yes, but they're all good though. I fell in love with both of them when I met them. I fell in love with both of them. I can ask them anything. They'll tell me best of their knowledge, and I'll be trying to see what they talk about. But anyway, they helped me a lot.
Well, great.
Yes.
I'm going to give you guys your break. Come back at 8:16. So I just shared another licensing company for Christian worship songs. So if you have this license, they allow you to stream. The cost of it is contingent upon the size of your congregation. So when you go to that page, you just fill out some of the details, and you can actually fill those details out before actually purchasing to see if it's something that will work for your budget. And I will put the other one in too, so they'll be right next to each other. So let me.
So I see the first link you put, the CCLI. It allows you to stream is that stream to YouTube and Facebook?
The second one that I put in, they're two separate licenses. If you have the copyright, the first one, then you can, well, the second one now, then you can perform the songs with no problem. The second one allows you to broadcast. Before you pick a service, go into their database and see if they have the songs that you want. You don't want to end up paying for it and then going, they don't have any of the songs I want to hear. So you can actually check their song database and see if it works for you. So the CCLI, I'm just going to read it for you, what it covers. It covers storing the lyrics, and that means putting them on a visual projection screen for the congregation to sing. It covers printing the songs, hymns, or lyrics in the bulletins, programs, or liturgies or song sheets for the congregation to sing. Recording services, so you can record and capture your worship service, audio and video, provided you only are recording live music. You can make custom arrangements of the songs, project or display them, and that can be digital or physical. And you can translate the songs for congregational singing. So that's the church copyright license. The other one, which is the Christian Copyright Solutions, says that they are it's affiliated with ASCAP, which is the company that oversees music. It's the best way I can say it. But they have secular and Christian songs, 28 million songs. And it is a streaming license that is available to churches. And you can stream live or on demand. You can stream for services and special events. It allows you, WorshipCast, which is the name of the license on this website, covers your performances, including from the genres from Christian gospel contemporary worship all the way over to Broadway. You are able to stream your worship services, meetings, special events, guest performances, as well as concerts and recordings of your worship team. And their annual license fee is pretty reasonable. So if you have an attendance of 1 to 199 congregants, then the annual license fee is $297, plus a setup fee of $25. So you're looking at $322 total, if that's your congregational size. If your congregation size is 200 to 499, then the cost is $447. If it's 500 to 900, if it's 500 to 1,999, then the annual fee is $857. So
this is just for if you are doing things that are not in the hymnal, right?
yes, this is not hymn music. This is mostly contemporary. It covers like several genres, but as far as church is concerned, it's contemporary worship songs. So,
if we're just singing out of the hymnal, then we're okay.
Yeah, if you're using it out of hymnal, you'll be covered under the CCLI.
Okay.
But if this is really where it really gets hairy, is the streaming of the songs. So if you're pulling out the hymnal and you're not streaming it, then you're fine, if you're using chalice worship. But if you're using a contemporary song and you're streaming it, that's where the licensing protects the congregation from any litigation that copyright laws were breached. So both of those resources are right there for you. And if your congregation says, yeah, I don't want to deal with that at all, you can just not stream the singing. So now we're going to talk about email marketing. And you're going to see email marketing in my presentation, and you may feel like, we're not marketing the church. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are marketing the church, but you want people to walk in there. And marketing isn't something that is just for for-profit businesses. Whenever you tell somebody, tell so-and-so to come to church, or bring all your friends, or we having family and friends Sunday, you are marketing that ministry. So we're going to talk about how you can actually use email to do that, and leverage some of these opportunities of staying in touch. If any of you are on social media, this is where I am. You are welcome to follow me. In the next coming weeks, I will be doing a couple of videos every week, including some entrepreneur training with the Mississippi Small Business Development Center. So let's get started. So this is a trick question. I think you know it. What is the #1 app on a smartphone?
Laptop.
I'm gonna
It
go
is-
with Facebook.
It is
Safari.
it is email.
Oh, yeah.
It's email.
I thought for sure it would be Facebook.
It is email because you need
That's what
email
I
to
go
set it
to.
up.
It is email. Like, and for most people, they wake up in the morning, they check that email. But yes, email is still #1.
Hmm.
And I don't even know how I feel about this one, because this has been true for years, that there are more people who own a cell phone than own a toothbrush. Okay. So when we look at email, 91% of people check their email every day. 88% check their email on their phones, because it's convenient, right? You carry your phone around with you.
Mhm.
And here's our big difference of why you should be doing email marketing. So email marketing, 90% of the time, the person's going to get it. It is a one-to-one communication. Even though it's technically it's one-to-many, because you're sending one email to a list, but the correspondence is my email to you. On Facebook, as you can see, the posts reach about 2% of the fans. You know, years ago when Facebook first started and you posted something, everybody who followed or liked your page saw it. Now it really is that 2%. And even if you buy an ad or boost your post within Facebook, you may not hit that number. You may not hit 90%. I've done it, and I've paid for ads and still wasn't reaching the majority. Whereas if you have somebody's email address, they're more likely going to get it. So email marketing, it has a better conversion rate. What is conversion rate, LaShondra? So glad you asked. So that conversion rate is when you actually move a person from observing to participating. And so for you, it would be, oh, let me tell them about this worship service. So let me tell them about that the food pantry is going to be open and we need volunteers. Let me tell them about the Christmas program. And so moving that person from the discovery to action is a higher conversion rate when it comes to email. For every dollar spent on email marketing, the return on investment is what the ROI is $44. Now that number is for the purchasing of things. So how that translate, or donations as well, because this is actually for both. So how are we going to determine whether or not we're doing the right thing with our email? Who is sending out emails already? to their congregation. So Tanika, let me put everybody up so I can see what everybody's sharing. Anybody else sending out emails? Okay. Okay, about half of you. Great.
Invitation.
Ma'am,
I said invitation. Send out
Invitations?
invitation.
okay. Are your invitations going out via email or are they mail?
Some of it, most of them be mailed by mail.
Say that again. You were breaking up.
Oh, by mail, and then you know by mouth, you know, telling them about to come to different
Okay, so word of mouth.
program.
Word of mouth
Back
and
to the church.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so in our emails, there are 7 main elements. There is your header. It's at our very top, this area, your pre-header, which is this little line right here, and I'll explain a little bit more what the pre-header is. And this is if you're using an email service. Now, if you are using like Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail, because some people may still be using that, you don't have the opportunity to customize those emails. Another issue with sending out a blast of emails, if you are not using an email service, is that you can get blocked because it will be considered spam. So spam is when you send out tons of emails and the servers, which is what you're sending the email through, assume that you're just blasting a bunch of people with this email. And what ends up happening is they will actually block you as a sender, or the receiver's system will block you from being able to send to them. So when you use an email marketing platform, it actually protects you from that because people are supposed to be giving you permission for you to send them emails. Another thing that using a platform or a software does is it lets you know how many people are opening. So if I send you an email via Gmail, you assume that I have seen it or have assumed that I've opened it, but you aren't necessarily sure, and you won't know because there's no system that's tracking it. The only way you'll know that I did not get something is if that email address is no longer valid and you get an email back from the system saying this email address no longer exists. So our next elements that you can actually change are the logo and the colors, and those will be contingent upon your particular organization, your greens, your blues, whatever it is, you can actually customize that. You can put in your own logo. When you're doing an email and designing it, include an image. That's me being silly. And your message. And then your call to action. And your call to action is the response that you want the person to take after they have read your email. And in this email, the call to action is register now. There is a footer. This platform is Constant Contact. Within Constant Contact, the footer is like the links to your social media pages as well as your address that's associated with the account. So when you actually get ready to do your emails, the things that would be different would be you would change the subject because every email is not going to have the same subject. And try to include a subject that's going to be appealing and make them want to read it. Your pre-header will change. The image would change, your message would change, and your link would change. Those other two elements would stay the same. So I mentioned getting permission. It is very important for you to get permission. Just because you have somebody's email address doesn't mean they want to receive an email from you. So you have to ask them. And with the way that regulations around data is changing. If you do not ask them and you get a lot of complaints that you have sent people emails that they didn't ask for and you're marketing to them, then you can be blacklisted. And we don't want that for you. So the last time that you gave somebody your email address, how did it even happen? For me, I was going to buy something during Christmas and somebody asked me for my email address and I gave it to them because I wanted to receive coupons. But that's how they got it from me. So, I actually opened their emails because I like the products and I want those coupons. So if somebody is interfacing with you, how would they sign up? So is it that you have something at the bottom of the newsletter that tells them to sign up for the emails? If it's on social media, are you including any posts where you're inviting people to share their email addresses? Sometimes people don't sign up because they don't even know that it's an option. But it is important to grow your list. Do you know why? Because sometimes social media goes down. And we probably would have said, no, there's no way a long time ago, but more recently we have experienced a social media platform going down. And if you did not have email addresses for your members, then you were not able to get in contact with them. Not everybody gives their phone number. Not everybody's going to walk through the door a couple of times a week, especially now. So if you didn't have their email or some other way to contact them and social media was not available, that was it. That was the end of the conversation. You just had to wait until things got back up before you could actually share something. Another thing reason why I'm a proponent of email as well is that not everybody is on social media. There are some people who aren't. I have some friends who are not on it at all, mostly because of their jobs. A few of them are in HR, and so they don't want to be on. And if there is no other way to connect with them outside of social media, then they don't get to be included. So think about that. You know, there's some people in the older generation who may not be on social media. There's some that are, there's some that are not. I have a cousin who's younger than me. She has a very secure job in the military. She's not on social media at all. So email gives you a way to stay connected to people in the community who just are not on social media. So here's some ways that you can actually be growing your list. So when you're in person, of course, that's why you make a purchase, which for you would not be necessarily applicable. But when somebody decides that they're going to volunteer, get their email address, let them know why they're giving it. I'm getting your email address so that I can contact you when there are other volunteer opportunities, or if you ever want to come to worship, we send out a newsletter. If they come to an event that you're having at the church, and you can actually take this information in via an app. So right on your phone, they can actually sign up. And when they sign up, it will be putting their information into a database that you would then upload to the email marketing system. Another way is via print. So Ms. Ruby, when you send out those invitations, you could have a little blurb that says, join our email list. And you can give them some instructions on how to get your newsletter or any emails that you send out via email. So you could have it in signage, you can have it in the bulletin. For those of you who have business cards that are part of the congregation, you can have it on your business card. When you send out any flyers or brochures, telling people about things that are happening at the church, you could have some information on there for them to sign up, to stay updated. And you can actually use texting as well. I'm sure some of you have probably seen that, where you can either text to donate or text to sign up or text to get that coupon. And you can actually set up the system so they can send you a key code or a couple of numbers and send back their email address. Our third option is online. So on your website, is there a spot where people can sign up or subscribe to get emails from you? If not, that's a mixed opportunity, because you can actually put a little sign up form right on the front of your website. And when they go visit, the first thing they'll see is that invitation. And it could be a very simple form, just asking for their name, their first and last name, and their email address. Now, if you wanted additional information, like their birthday, or if they're married, their anniversary, this would be an opportunity to get that information, because you can actually set up an automatic email for those types of special events. So when their birthday hits, you don't have to go, oh, wait a minute, I was supposed to send an email to so-and-so. The system will actually see it's their birthday and pull the automated email that you created and send it to them automatically. Next, as I mentioned before, put it on social media, just like you do your post. You can have a post that says sign up. And whenever you send out your newsletters, be sure that you are actually including that email as a post on your Facebook page, or even on LinkedIn, depending on what your presence is. But you can share that as a post. Hey, our new newsletter is out. If you'd like to read it, just click here. And then the next line could be, don't miss the next issue, subscribe. In your email signature, on the bottom, you just have a little line that says subscribe to our email, and you can actually link that. And when that person clicks that link, they can go directly to the subscription page, and then they'll be able to get your emails. And of course, when they are donating, so if any of you are using any tithing apps or web services, or even texting services, you could also include that option on that page when the person goes to put in their amount that they want to give for the month or for that week. You can actually include in there, stay abreast of what's happening with the congregation, join our email list. So if you're wondering, well, what would I say? Okay, you got a lot of great things to say. Our examples here are an email that is based on time, like an event is coming up, so you send the email out before the event. Please do not wait until the day of or the day before an event to let people know the event is happening. Tell them in advance, at least a week, so that they can actually plan. If you can tell them a few weeks out, that's even better. And then you'll be sending subsequent emails just to remind them. But you definitely don't want the first time that they hear about it to be the day of or the day before, because now you've decreased the likelihood that they're going to attend, because not everybody can change their schedule on a dime like that. The next email that you could send out will be an informational email. And this could come from, hey, we had these people in attendance, or, last Sunday, the service went great. Here's a recap of the service. And you see where that little picture is? You could actually make that a video of the sermon. And for all of those the little ones who weren't there, here are the high points from our children's moment. So for the people who were not able to be in service that day, or who may have forgotten, or just need to know what the high points were because they didn't get that note and they weren't in a space where they could actually write it, you could use email as an opportunity to reconnect with them and remind them of some of the things that they may have missed. It's also an opportunity to include any upcoming events in your newsletter so that they can go ahead and get some of those things on their calendar. So for your subject line, include something in there that people may want to read. So my subject line for this is grow your list with great content. So it tells you a little bit about what it's going to be. You're going to be using your content to make people want to join your email list. So for you, that could be, well, at this point, it wouldn't be the cantata. So join us for our upcoming Lenten service. So we're going to have a special Monday, Thursday service. Or next Wednesday, we're going to be building a house with habitat, come out and volunteer, but make it something that makes people want to open it. So don't do something that's really generic that won't give them any idea of what's in there. So like don't name it newsletter number 3, because that gives them no idea of what could possibly be there. It doesn't really entice the person to open. So think about some of the things that you see that in the email that propel you to open it. It could be, we have back to school savings. That's usually what used to get me. We have back to school savings. What are you saying right now? That's awesome, because there's no credit for paying extra. Like, I'm using that for these kids' clothes. So think about what would be appealing to that person. Some of the things to stay away from are like a lot of exclamation points or all caps, like, stay away from that. But what would be appealing? So think about it from that perspective. If I were reading this, what would make me want to open it? Well, here are a couple other tips for you to get creative. Using you or your, because it's more personal. In that example, you also see the use of the person's first name, and you actually can set it up where it would pull that first name out of the field. When they complete the little form and it has a first name, last name, you can actually put that first name in the subject line. So when they see it in their email account, they'll see their name, and it just personalizes it a little bit more. And this may not feel necessary. You're like, oh, LaShondra, these are people who go to the congregation. Well, everybody likes to be recognized as who they are. Is how I would start that argument. My second would be, with people being able to access your service, even though they've never stepped through the doors, those who will be receiving the emails may not know any of you. So if this is their first opportunity to engage beyond watching a live stream, identify them, make it feel like they're being seen. So you could create a sense of urgency. And if you're wondering how would that be applicable? With a youth camp that was just held by the region, I'm sure there was a deadline for when they had to actually register. So, hey, this is your last chance. You got to do it today. Open this email and sign up your kid. Don't miss the bus. I don't know if there was a bus or not, but it would have been appropriate. So think about what some of the elements of urgency that you could include, even if it's, this is the upcoming Sunday, it's the last Sunday that you can buy your poinsettia. So this is it. I'm sorry, I clicked too fast. You can make them laugh. I don't think read between the lines is going to be the most appropriate for you guys, unless that's what you're using. Is that what you're using? You're not using that. You're using grape juice. But you could make a joke. Pulling at their heartstrings, appealing to their humanity. And that could be done in all sorts of ways. For here is, take 5 minutes to help children in need, but it could be, donate some canned goods to the food pantry. What if it was you? Just something to kind of draw people in. And then there's piquing their interest. Why should they open the email? Why should they try to see what you have in there? So you don't want to miss out on this. You could use it as a moment to ask a question. Have any questions from Sunday, or Are you looking forward to what's coming up? And for those of you who are grill masters, here's one for you. You can use the numbers. So 5 tips for a perfectly grilled ribs. But for the church, that could be, we raised $800 this past week for the women's shelter. So utilize that little field to entice people to open. You know, even though email is still the most effective communication, people do get a lot of emails. I am on some lists and I don't open every single email, but there are some things that make me stop. Like I won't unsubscribe for them because every now and then they send me something, or I should say they send me something because they probably always send me something of value, but it's the subject line that makes me open them. And the subject line could be, hey, we have a webinar coming up to download this list, or hey, we got a new song. All kinds of stuff stops me, but it's that subject line because that's all the person sees at first. And you will have those diehard people who will open every single email. It's coming from the church. I want to see what it is. And then you'll have those who won't open. So give them a little something to make them open it up. As I mentioned earlier, don't do it all caps. Excessive punctuation, 18 exclamation points, don't do that. And also don't mislead. And I do see people doing this, but don't do that. When you put that "re" in there, it indicates that it's a response, like you're receiving a response from an email that you sent. If the person really isn't responding, then don't put the "re" in there. So just avoid that. And add pre-header text if you opt to use a service. So that pre-header text is that little text right there. And most of us probably don't really pay attention to it, but when the email comes up on your phone, might be a little hard to see. So I have an email down there at the bottom. And it's the person's name. It's the person's name. And then there's a little text that says that he messaged me, and then I can see LinkedIn one message awaits. That LinkedIn one message awaits is the pre-header text. So I see a little bit of the content that's going to be happening in the email in that pre-header text. And that is actually below the subject line. So you use your pre-header text as a way to kind of dovetail the subject. So in our examples, we had John, schedule your consultation, and the pre-header text is personalized tips to a happy life. For the last chance example, reserve your spot today. And our pre-header text for the make them laugh example is enter your photo for a chance to win. So you're giving them a little bit more than what you could put in the subject line, but it's kind of taking it a little bit further to give them a few more details. So our pre-header text for the children in need is $10 can provide a child with school supplies. So even with that one, you know enough that you could actually take action just from that subject line and that pre-header text. And then under piquing their interest, get our 3 secrets to grow your business. Get our 3 secrets. There won't be secrets, but get 3 ways you can actually grow in discipleship. Get 3 ways you can actually contribute to this ministry. Discover the ministries that are available at the church. For our investments, the pre-header text is 3 questions to ask to maximize your results. And under our numbers examples is ribs that will knock your socks off. So include an image in your example that matches. So for here we have a yoga studio. They put in a little video, and we have a dog and rescue, and the picture is very appropriate for for what's happening in that picture. I mean, what's happening in this email. So this will, if you do not have pictures, you can use stock images. Sometimes stock would be appropriate. If you can, I would say use pictures or members of the congregation if they allow you to. I mentioned this last week. You definitely always get permission from people. If you're using children, you got to get permission from the parents. You know, if you're under 18, you cannot give permission for your image to be used. The parent has to consent. And some people are in situations where they don't want their images out there. So make sure you ask. And make sure that the picture is actually relevant. I would not use this as an opportunity to only have pictures of the pastor, because a church is a community, and having other pictures up there allows people to see who else may be present, and also the chance to see themselves. And that might be another reason for them to open that email. I'm actually going to skip this one and go straight to the nonprofit one. Okay, so what are you trying to accomplish? So this is going to help you decide, you know, what am I actually going to put in this email? Because it won't be all sermons, but what do you want to say? And that will actually be the headline that you have. And tell them why they should care. So is it for spiritual development? Is it for discovering how they could connect with this new community? Is it for an opportunity to contribute to the larger community that is outside of the doors of the church? Is it to advocate in some way? So why should they care? And how can they actually get involved? And that sharing is their call to action. So your three big elements are going to be a picture or a video, so a visual element, a brief paragraph. Okay, this is not where you put your dissertation. Give them about a paragraph, maybe two short paragraphs, because as I started in the very beginning, I said most people check their emails on their phones, remember? Right, remember that? Okay, so because they're checking on their phone, that means that the real estate is smaller because they only have this little part of the screen. So if they're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, they're going to stop scrolling and they're going to miss some of the things that you say. So about 2 paragraphs, if you can keep it 5 to 6 lines, that's optimal. And then you can give them a call to action. So if you're sharing something and you're like, this is just a really great article, for example, or somebody in the congregation has written their testimonial, and the way to get content and involve somebody from the congregation to participate, taking some of the burden off of one person to write everything. So keep that in mind. Say that person has shared their testimony and it's longer than 6 sentences, because if they have lived any life, is going to be fairly significant in length. You can actually put the remainder of that text on your website, and then your call to action would be read more or visit website. And then when they click, they will go and see the rest of what that person wrote. Or if you're the pastor and you have a little article that you've written, they can go out from the email to your website and read the rest. If you put too much inside of the email, you're going to lose them and they may not get to the bottom. So whatever you have below 2 or 3 scrolls, they may not even see. So temper how much you put in there. You're not going to be able to tell them everything, but give them enough to entice them to go and read further. So I've mentioned call to action, but call to action is the call telling them what to do. That that little green button right there is the call to action. Buy now. So if somebody's making a purchase, it's order yours today, donate, schedule a consultation. Those are call to actions. If you have a particular deal, you know, that thing that gets me, save now, buy today, unwrap for a surprise, get your coupon, call to action. So if you are promoting your social media, your typical call to actions would be, you know, like us on Facebook, please follow us, share a photo on Instagram. The share a photo on Instagram is if they end up tagging you, then more people end up finding out about you than those who may be affiliated with your organization already. And you can also ask for feedback and reviews. And this could be like if you have an event that you've done, a camp that you've done, you can actually set up a survey and ask people, you know, what they thought about what you did or how you could improve. Here are some examples of registration call to actions. And it's good to get people to register ahead of time because it gives you an idea, especially if you're trying to provide food or dealing with space. It's good to get registrations ahead. And if you are combining this with social media, you can actually tell them exactly where to take that call to action.
Chandra, Gina asked a question, how often is it optimal for emailing and Facebook posts?
Emailing and Facebook posts?
Mm-hmm.
That depends. So if you were doing live streams, I would not do them every day. 2 to 3 times a week would be sufficient. If you are doing like posts like you know, pictures or a text post, then you can do those 5 to 7 times a week. If that seems like too much, then don't overburden yourself. What you can do is schedule some of your stuff ahead of time, lean on some of the other people in the congregations to contribute some things, and then you would just edit it and post it. And you can actually schedule those out in advance so that you're not feel like you're doing it every single day. When it comes to sending emails, 1 or 2 times a week is more than enough. You can actually send it less than that and just tell people to expect it. So if you say, okay, we don't have enough going on for me to send that many emails, you can actually send a quarterly. But with all of you being members of congregations, you should be able to get away with at least sending a weekly one. And it would have, you know, past sermon, upcoming sermon, and any events that are coming up. I wouldn't send more than 2 in a week because you don't want people to turn you off. Now, I know many of us have gotten more than that from places, like if it's a restaurant or a store, or even small businesses that have sent out more. And that's when you kind of get into a gamble of sending too much, and then people having to decide, am I actually going to open that email? And then they may not open it, but they may not unsubscribe either. So I really would not go over 2. And then what I'll probably end up talking about next week is segmentation. And I'll just touch on a little bit because I'm going to respect the time. But segmentation is where you can actually split up your list, and different people would get different emails. So you would have your general one. And this isn't something that you have to, it's not a hard thing to do. Like you wouldn't have to go find these people. But let's say you had people who had small children. So, and they may want to know, you know, what are the children's events? What are, do you have a nursery? Do you have events that are just for the kids in the congregation? And if they're interested in that, then they would just get those emails. So they may end up getting 2 general ones that you send to the church, one after Wednesday and one after Sunday, and then that special email for parents with young kids. Does that help, Gina? Good. It is, what time is it? 9:04. So I'm going to stop talking so that you don't complain in my reviews and say I went over time and you had something else to do at 9. You're not going to blame me. So I'm going to end right here. And if you have any questions, just email them and I'll touch on them here. I hope that you got these links, but I will, did everybody get these links for the copywriting? Yes, okay, great. Does anybody have any other questions in this moment? I don't want you to miss the moment. Okay, let me say this. If you need to jump off, go ahead and jump off. I won't be mad, I won't be offended. If somebody has a question, I do want to give you a chance to ask that question instead of waiting until next week and possibly forgetting. Does anybody have any questions about what I've gone over?
Are you going to touch on next week what type of email service, like if it's MailChimp or whatever, to use, what you would suggest?
Sure. I will do that. Anybody else? No? Well, I'm glad that you guys hung in there. I can't wait to hear about the things that you have implemented between now and next week. Yes. Yes. The only failing is not trying at all. Right? You guys are so funny. We are learning together. Have a fantastic night and a great service. I hope that all goes exceedingly and abundantly above what you could ask or imagine, and that you touch hearts of the people who have never even set foot in those doors. Use this technology to reach the world. And let's connect next Thursday. Sound good?
Good.
Awesome. Good night.
Good night.